Welcome to another edition of the Willy Bragg Show. It is 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Was there no intro? Yankee? Oh, that is a problem. Okay. All right. Hopefully, well, sometimes that happens. Okay. Okay. Anyway, I want to say, this is Saturday night. This is the time that the Willy Bragg Show, in partnership with KRTD Media, Converse News Group, that we work in partnership with each other, that I promote them, they promote me, and we do this to kind of help in the sense that, to bypass the algorithm discrimination that independent content makers all across the board face. So this is what we do. So anyway, so tonight what we're going to discuss is basically the 2024 Democratic primaries. And of course, I'm going to go and insert my little bit of humor in the very beginning. So, of course, we know that what's bound to happen, and that's we're going to be like they're going to be like, well, damn you, Russia, you're interfering again. You're with this Marianne Williamson and this Robert Kennedy. Hey, you're just going to try to cause chaos again. Woo! Okay, we got that out of the way. Okay. So that's basically what's going to happen. I mean, that there's going to be something crazy like that happening in this election cycle, and it's par for the course, is to be expected. So what's happened basically, the 2024 election. Well, shall I say that I was thinking, will I be able to vote again? And I'm not trying to make this all about me, but I was thinking to myself, will I be able to vote again? Because I've been, all my life, I have been kind of I've been kind of a rebel. I would support people like a Ralph Nader in the past, and I have gotten into a lot of trouble with people and lost a lot of friends over supporting a Ralph Nader or supporting someone like Jill Stein, and frankly, I would do it again. I wouldn't have it any other way. So I make no apologies for it, and people need to get over it. And of course, let's not forget about Bernie, because in 2016 and 2020, many of us did. Many of us got on the Bernie Sanders bandwagon, and he's been kind of a disappointment. I would say not as big of a disappointment as AOC, but Bernie Sanders is a disappointment at this point, because I think he accidentally sheep herded the independent radicals back into the Democratic Party for nothing. And that's what we got. Nothing. We got nothing out of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The very ticket that I knew was going to take place, and that was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I knew that was what we were going to get, and I knew to expect nothing from them. And Joe Biden did tell the truth, that there will be no fundamental changes. And he was correct. I don't know why all the people who hated Trump heard him say there'll be no fundamental changes. And he said that during the Trump presidency. Let that sink in. So it meant that there was going to be no fundamental changes. So there's no fundamental changes. I will argue that there was no fundamental changes from Obama to Trump, and there was no fundamental changes from Bush to Obama. And there was no fundamental changes from Clinton to Bush. And you get the picture. There's no fundamental changes. And most Americans want fundamental change. Remember when Obama said, yes, we can, and hope and change? Well, we didn't get it. And so people are wanting people are wanting people are wanting something new. So anyway, what I'm going to do is and I hope there is a sound audio here, because I've been having some trouble with it's been hit and miss with my audio. I don't know what the hell's going on here with the audio. So hopefully we'll have some audio. And anybody, please let me know if there is any audio problem here. But before we get started, from the get go, I'm going to say we're going to start with who I am going to support in 2024. And here we go. And I hope there is a sound coming out of this. Okay, there's no audio. I for some reason I am not shocked about that. I can do something about that. If y'all just wait 1 second, I will take care of that right now. Hold on. Oh, God. I swear to God, I'm gonna have to get a new computer. So, okay, give me a moment here. We're gonna fix that, and this is just not the way to start a live stream. So, let me get started over here. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this straightened out. Okay. All right, we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this straightened out in just a short moment. So, hold on one moment here. Give me a. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. This is what happens, when you go, you take a hiatus for a week, and then you come back and you have stuff like this happening. Okay, give me a moment here. All right. Okay, we're going to make this live stream work, folks. We're going to make it work right now, if it kills me.
I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth. I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, de-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption. Wide from below, the energies of everyday people is manifest. And I know there are precious people in your life who you care for. That's why it's important for you to be involved, important for you to participate. I'm not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins. Because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech. Neo-fascists like Brother Trump or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean? I know gangsters when I see them. And gangsters not a subjective expression, it's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see. But some of us are going to go down fighting, go down swinging with style and a smile, accenting the best in you and trying to tease out the best in me. Let's do it together.
Okay. Apparently the audio is crappy, but I'm going to also try to improve on that as well. But I guess crappy audio is better than no audio, and I am embarrassed by that. But I am going to fix that if it kills me. I don't know what the hell's going on here. But anyway, suffice to say, you guessed it, I am supporting Cornel West for president in 2024. So basically what I wanted to do was to get that kind of out of the way as far as who I am going to be supporting. So that's basically where I wanted to start and everything. I also wanted to emphasize the Republican primaries, because with the Republican primaries happening, it's going to be fireworks between Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. And I make no secret, obviously I'm not a Republican, but I make no secrets on, which candidate is worse. And I have warned people to beware of the governor of Florida. Beware of the governor of Florida. And there are people out there, they're just kind of like, they don't want him to be the governor and the president, but they just sort of look at him as kind of like a slightly angrier Mitt Romney. And no, he's not. And it pertains to everything I'm saying here this evening. So if you just give me a moment here, we will let me just get everything set up. Let me get everything set up, and we'll just hold on a second here, because we're going to have audio. I'm going to try to improve it right now. Okay, hold on a second here. Okay. Okay. Generational change. Speaking of Florida, is a program hosted by Jen Perlman. She, I believe, was in 2020. She ran in the Democratic primaries against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the corrupt Democrat that played a role in the 2016 election. So, and I'm going to tell you what Russell Dobler from Due Dissonance had to say about that. So give me a moment here, and we will and I'll share some of my words, and we're going to get into Robert Kennedy and Marianne Williamson and how it all connects. All right, let's see. Okay.
The turning point was the midterms, right? I mean, it was looking for a while there in mid-October that it was possible that there would be a real red wave. And if there were a real red wave, if all those Trump candidates, won in the Senate, in the state houses, up and down the House, then I think he would have been very, very difficult to beat because he'd have put wins on the board. But it turned out the exact opposite. The only places there were red waves were actually, ironically, where we're all from, New York and Florida. Florida had a red wave, right? DeSantis executed in all the ways that Republicans hoped to. He flipped a lot of light blue suburbs to light red.
Just like Reagan.
He flipped a lot of urban areas. I think he actually won Miami-Dade outright.
He crushed in Miami-Dade. He won Palm Beach County outright, and he almost won Broward.
Biden barely won Broward. Yeah. Like, barely won Broward. So, again, this is not a hard call. But I just don't think it's...
Well, and I've also said with Trump all along, this is why I didn't have to see the midterms. If they have to drug him and put him in a hotel room with a dead hooker, they are not letting Donald Trump back in the White House.
You don't think?
No way.
Because I didn't think they would in the first place.
They will whack that motherfucker. They didn't
Let me
see
tell you.
it.
Oh my God!
Now you have to now you listen very carefully. They've tried to take me out since the 80s. It's not happening.
Yes, you've been a douche that long.
That's correct, but I'm a great douche. The biggest douche you've ever seen. And believe me when I tell you, we are going to make America great again in 24.
Make America great again.
Yeah.
He got in my way.
Ron DeSanctimonious, you created him.
I created that monster, and I will slay that monster. Believe me. He's just in the way temporarily. It won't last very long. I play the long game, like in golf.
His wife actually really likes him, though.
My wife is really incredible. Have you seen her? She's
she says
much more beautiful than Casey. Casey's totally ugly, terrible.
I don't think so.
But Mr. DeSanctimonious is real and great. He couldn't wait his turn. He couldn't wait until 28. He had to take in 24. Well, now it's on, Ron.
It's on, Ron.
Believe me, it is totally on. I'll see you on that mat out there. If you think you can go 12 rounds with Donald the King Trump, believe me, you're going to get knocked out, boy.
Oh, God.
I don't know who these guys are, but they totally don't like me.
No, they don't like you.
They're really terrible.
Nobody really likes you.
But please, I ask you nicely for your vote. This time I'm going to have to ask for votes. Can you believe it? I really want your vote because I'm not as scary as the Ron DeSantis. Trust me. I'm much more stable genius, great guy, incredible person.
Oh, you belong in the
So get out there and support me. You know you love it. It's great to be here with you, Jen. Not really. This is my show. Just came to check and make sure everybody's behaving themselves properly. I'll see you later.
Okay, now I don't know about the stable genius part, but I will say this. I don't know about the stable genius part. But I will say this. He is less dangerous than Ron DeSantis. So that's my take on it. So was there an audio? I just wanted to please could y'all tell me was there an audio? So I just wanted to know just for the sake. So but anyway, yeah, okay, it looks like there was an audio. Good. Okay, yeah, and that's basically it. I mean, so and my prediction will be it'll be a little bit of a slow process, but there will be once DeSantis is in there, Trump will be rehabilitated. It will happen. If they rehabilitated Bush. It's funny when it comes to the two-party system, Republicans don't rehabilitate former Democratic presidents, but usually Democrats rehabilitate former Republican presidents. I have noticed that pattern. Actually, I came to that observation recently. So there is that. So anyway, next subject I want to discuss is we're going to discuss actually now the situation with Marianne Williamson and Robert Kennedy. Okay, so as you know, she did this first. So we're going to talk about Marianne Williamson, And so Marianne Williamson, let me find her. Here we go. Marianne Williamson, and that's not her, is it? Well, if it isn't her, we'll talk. No, I meant to put Marianne Williamson. So we'll talk about Robert Kennedy. I get the feeling that Tulsi Gabbard is Robert Kennedy friendly. And she sounds Robert Kennedy friendly. And I have actually joked that he is basically he's basically the Tulsi Gabbard of 2024 in many ways. Foreign policy wise, and taking some positions that kind of breaks orthodoxy with official shit livery of the Democratic Party. And so I think he sort of plays that role in 2024. Right now it's 2023. And there are people already smearing him. I mean, and do I? Now I'm going to tell you from the get-go, there are things I have issues with regard to Robert Kennedy. And my three issues with Robert Kennedy is that, he's running as a Democrat, and I am outside the two-party system. I mean, I really have disdain for both political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. And honestly, I had to make a fundamental decision recently to not even vote for a Democrat on a part-time basis anymore. I had to make a decision, and this is a decision that's going to probably make me some enemies for the rest of my life. But the two-party system has got to go. And as long as people, I don't care which side of the fence you're on, whether you lean Democrat or lean Republican, but have pro-third party sensibilities. But you end up going back to voting for a Democrat or a Republican because you're scared of what the other side will bring you. And what the other side will bring you pretty much is what the current side of the team that you're reluctantly on will bring you. More corporatism, more corporatism, more corporatism, more military-industrial complex, more military-industrial complex, more military-industrial complex, more domestic spying, more domestic spying, more domestic spying, more war abroad, more war abroad, more war abroad. And with a slightly different spin on either side, more culture war, more culture war, more culture war, with the latter probably being the least important, but in many ways, in some ways not, depending on the issue. But the point I'm trying to make is that she seems to have, Tulsi Gabbard seems to have sensibilities that's sympathetic to Robert Kennedy, because they do kind of a serious overlap. And I know that Kim Iverson is a supporter of Robert Kennedy. And I know it seems to be that Max Blumenthal from the gray zone has sympathies for Robert Kennedy. And with a Kim Iverson and a Max Blumenthal type for Robert Kennedy, it would make sense for Tulsi Gabbard also to have sympathies for Robert Kennedy. And if I was still a Democrat on a part-time basis with some of my misgivings, I would be inclined to. Oh, I need to mention the two other issues I have a problem with Robert Kennedy, other than being a Democrat. And that is his position on Medicare for All. It's a very politician-y answer. He kind of squirms all over the place and gives you like all kinds of nuances that doesn't really answer the question. And it's something that really kind of annoys the hell out of me when I do talk to politicians. It was the problem I had when I talked to Senator John Edwards before he became a U.S. Senator back in 1998. When I talked to him at the Johnson County, what was it? Was it the Johnson County Ham and Yam Festival he was at? He was out there trying to get pander for votes and everything. So I talked to him, and he gave me the biggest non-answer you can imagine on single-payer health care. And this is what a lot of Democrats will do. They'll give you that non-answer. And some, you got to watch out for those that will tell you they're for Medicare for all. They'll say it as an afterthought because it's now a nice little buzz phrase. Oh, I'm for Medicare for all. Then they'll go on with something else. So I have a problem with that. Also, he chose Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders in 2016. That's a problem for me. That's a major problem. Even now with my frustration with Bernie Sanders, if you were voting inside the Democratic primaries and you had a problem with Bernie Sanders to the point that you chose Hillary Clinton, or in 2020 that you chose Joe Biden or some other corporate Democrat, I might give you a little bit of leeway on Elizabeth Warren, the snake, because some people fell for her as the other Bernie. I still think she's a snake. I definitely would give you a pass if you were one of those in 2020 that was for Tulsi Gabbard, because she was my second choice. I wanted Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard to team up. And that was the ticket I wanted. I did not want Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I wanted Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard together. That was the ticket I wanted. I wanted Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard together. And I suspected that there are people out there that I have kind of watched over the years that sort of indicated the same thing. They, not that they officially said it, but whether they were on the Bernie camp or the Tulsi camp sort of indicated it. And so I got that vibe off of people like, of people like, whether we're talking about Kyle Kalinske or whether we're talking about Jimmy Dore or we're talking about whomever, Kim Iverson or just kind of, it seems like kind of in that area of the online left sphere that were essentially non-TYT. I mean, they TYT, but they weren't specifically, boutique left oriented, bordering on shit livery at that time, and they were more on the if they kind of lean in the direction of the kind of I guess some people will call the Jimmy Dore gray zone faction of the online left in 2019, 2020. Many of those folks seem to favor a Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard ticket. I have noticed that, and I could be wrong, but it's just an observation I have made. But that was my take. That was where I stood. So, so there you have it. Robert Kennedy chose Hillary Clinton in 2016, and I presume Joe Biden in 2020. So that is an issue I had with him. So, let me go and do this here real quick. Also, I want to say that if I can find Marianne, there she is. Marianne Williamson. Now, she's a likable, eccentric crank. And there are people that kind of, I know people that kind of don't like her. And I have some issues with her too. Her foreign policy is, running as a Democrat is strike one. Strike two, her foreign policy. She's less interventionist than Joe Biden, but she's too interventionist for my take. Oh, and I should add a fourth one, another one. They're both way too pro-Israel to the point where in the year 2023 it's one thing to have that level of support if it was the year 1997, but to be in the year 2023 in light of how right-wing the government is in Israel. And let me tell you, the present government of Israel today is the most right-wing government they have ever elected. Whatever we may stand on Israel today, at least there was a time they were able to elect left-wing governments. But there is no left wing anymore, and it's all but disappear. Is actually, it's not even a secular center right government. Is theocratic at this point. So theocratic that George Galloway said in recently, like maybe about 4 months ago or something like that, that Benjamin Netanyahu, as horrible as he is, as right wing as he is considered a moderate in that government. That Meretz is out, and the Labor Party has little presence in the Knesset. And Marianne Williamson and Robert Kennedy are giving like strong support for the country. Now, I do get it that they are fearful of being called anti-Semitic. I mean, I think that they are sincerely pro-Israel, but I also think that there's this Washington consensus mindset that you got to go and it's like it's like you got to go and say that to for public relations and all of that. But somebody's got to be brave. And just somebody's got to be brave and talk about the plight of the Palestinians, and they're not willing to do that. And the Palestinian people are people. They're people. I mean, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that terrorism against actual Israelis is a good thing. I'm opposed to terrorism against anybody for any reason. But what we need to do, we need to call out who's doing all these things and pointing out who are the aggressors. And at this point, the Israelis are. I mean, the systematic discriminations, the open air prisons in Gaza. I mean, and it's not anti-Semitic to point this out. You're pointing out bad policies that basically all countries are capable of. I'm not a cultural relativist. I will criticize Saudi Arabia. I will criticize Iran. I will criticize any country that commits human rights abuses. So, and Israel is no exception. Hamas is no exception. I mean, I'll criticize anybody. So, and so they're a little bit too they're a little bit too fearful of the repercussions. And I should do a separate story on that fairly soon. So let me go and so let's go into the story now about hold on a second. We're gonna get that audio back. So give me a moment here. All right. And this is all right. Let me if I can find it. Okay. Okay, is this it? I think this is it. Hold on a second here. Okay, hold on a moment. There will be audio, damn it. Okay, so, okay. This is from Harlan's Media, and they're using Case Study QB and talking, this is mostly talking about the primaries regarding Robert Kennedy, but we'll be talking about a little bit about Hillary too in this regard, because can't really write her off as much as we want to write her off, because I would like to write Hillary Clinton off. I mean, I just wish she'll go the hell away. So anyhow, let's do this here. All right. I'm going to do this. Okay. Here we go. Right. Let's see where we're at. Okay, we'll start over here.
Would her please do so?
Now, there was that heart-stopping moment where he almost fell over coming down the stairs a day or two ago. Is that a concern?
Didn't she have a tripping accident when she had some pneumonia? Remember that? If you go back to 2016, that's right, refresh your brains for a second. Put down that mimosa. Hold off on the whiskey in your coffee. Don't smoke that bowl just yet. But really, just go back in time. There was a little incident in New York State, in New York City, where Hillary Clinton was having some health issues. She was wobbling and bobbling all over the place. She was dealing with some kind of pneumonia situation. Remember that?
Well, I mean, it's a concern for anyone. And we've had presidents who've fallen before who were a lot younger, and people didn't go into, heart palpitations. But his age is an issue, and people have every right to consider it. That's from the 50s.
Okay. Hillary Clinton's age is an issue. Donald Trump's age is an issue. Even Bernie Sanders' age was an issue. And honestly, policy should be an issue, not people's age. I hate to bring that up. Why do people do this? It should be policy. It should be an issue. With Ron DeSantis, it's policy that is his issue. It's not his age either. There's not a problem with age. It's a problem with policy. Yeah. Dianne Feinstein, who's 300 years old. It's not the fact that she's 300 years old. It's the fact that is her policy. She sucks. I feel sorry for California having to have her as a senator all these years. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to mention that. So let's go and continue here.
So Congresswoman, she's right, and that was a neutrally objective statement, frankly, that absolutely all Americans should consider it. They should consider everything when weighing in on a presidential campaign. Perhaps this issue, however, will be more heavy than most.
I think it certainly is top of mind, given there's constant reminders of what a concern it is. But when you look at all of these different issues, Democrats are not happy with the work that President Biden is doing. So it should be a red flag to everyone watching to see how hard the DNC is trying to make sure that he is not held to account for his record. Simone Sanders was on Morning Joe the other day saying there will be no primary debate.
Now, why is the DNC doing this? Because people are probably asking this question. Why is the DNC preventing any kind of debates? First, the evidence is already out there. The Democratic Party has already admitted, and the courts gave an approval, their thumbs up to it, that the Democratic Party, behind closed doors, can pick their candidate. So what this should tell any progressive running in the Democratic Party, any independents in the Democratic Party, and yes, even diehard vote blue no matter whose sycophants, your vote and presence are not necessary. You are not needed. You are not wanted. They have a thing called superdelegates. And yes, while the superdelegates don't play a major role in the first wave, they do play a major role in overall selecting who the candidate will be. The DNC doesn't require the voters' input. And the Democratic Party is also doing everything they can to avoid public embarrassment because it is quite clear there is something wrong with Joe Biden. You can't.
Yes, there is. Policy is one of them. Also, the fact that Joe Biden is suffering under cognitive decline. And for Simone Sanders to go around and to say there will be no debates to protect Joe Biden. You see, the primaries is not just both for the Democrats and Republicans. The primaries, you got to have primaries. And you got to have a robust, healthy debate, even if they're tearing each other apart. It's healthy. It's not people like, oh, this is so negative. No, it's a healthy thing. And the reason it's a healthy thing is you got to have a situation where people, it's training wheels. That's probably the best way to describe it. Primaries are like training wheels. So you're able to take on your political opponent when the general election comes, when there is an actual election. So, you have your debates, you sort out your policy differences with your rivals. And when you do so, you're able to go, you'll be able to articulate this with your opponents when you're debating them, or when you're being mobbed by the media, or questioned by people on the streets even. And so it's a healthy thing to have a debate. And public relations wise, for the Democrats, don't they realize how authoritarian it looks? They sit there and they lecture everybody about Donald Trump. We got to save democracy. And yeah, there are authoritarian aspects about Donald Trump. There are authoritarian aspects about Joe Biden too. I haven't forgotten about that disinformation governance board, but I haven't forgotten about Nina Yankowicz and this Ministry of Truth thing that they were trying to set up, this 1984 that they were trying to incur on America. Now, they may think that they were trying to do good, and sometimes what they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I'm being charitable to say that might be the case. Another way to put it, and my friend Dwight Welch put it this way, and that's basically, with American liberalism in this modern age, doesn't mean what it used to mean. And today, modern day liberalism is the nanny state without the actual nanny. And those were Dwight Welch's words. I'm like, Dwight, that's brilliant. That's pretty much what it comes down to. The modern day liberalism, the Bill Hillary Clinton model Democrat, basically takes Reaganomics, and then they took the nanny state of the FDR New Deal and Great Society, meshed it together, and gave you that nanny state without the actual nanny. In other words, they will micromanage you, but somehow you're on your own with means testing, and somehow they're out there to disregard you while pretending they care about you, while trying to pander to the right that they're fiscally responsible. And that's what it comes down to. And it's just been a disaster. Anyway, let's continue.
You can't hide it. With all these cameras, with all these smartphones, with everything at our disposal, you're going to look me straight in the eye and tell me that there's nothing wrong with Joe 30330?
There will be no stage for Bobby Kennedy or anyone else because the DNC will not allow it. It is all about Joe Biden, and I think it just reveals their hand. They are deathly afraid of Bobby Kennedy. They will do all that they can to pretend like he doesn't exist, and if he continues to build momentum, they're going to do everything they can to try to destroy his candidacy because they don't want voters to have an actual choice. They don't want to have a conversation where our president, his record will be examined and criticized.
I also want to pull up this other video as well. Now, Tulsi's probably the only person who will call out the DNC, who was part of the Democratic Party, for what they are. Now, you won't hear this from Bernie Sanders because Bernie's a cuck and went all in to supporting his friend Joe.
Yep.
That's right. Bernie Sanders refuses to acknowledge the election fraud, even though independent media outlets like Nico House, Jimmy Dore, Hardlands Media, we have all said that the Democratic Party committed election fraud in 2016 and yes, in 2020. So I know that there are RFK Jr. supporters here in the audience. Just be ready for what the DNC is going to do. And I would say before you start throwing money at his campaign, you really need to ask yourself, and this is a question that everyone needs to come to terms with, what are you prepared to do or say, or what will your reaction be when and if RFK Jr. says, all right, everybody, time to support Biden or whoever else the establishment pick will be? This is a decision everyone's going to have to come to terms with. I want to pull up this one as well, where Tulsi Gabbard is discussing the DNC blocking RFK Jr. Let's go.
Let me just do this for a quick second. The only argument I can make for Robert Kennedy running as a Democrat is that on a public relations level, that the Democrats do need a big name anti-war voice, because they have been terrible on this Russia situation with throwing billions of dollars into this proxy war in the Ukraine. And and I want people to know, don't be fooled by the Republican Party's newfound pacifism. Oh, no, Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky, he's sincere. Senator Rand Paul is sincere. Maybe Matt Gaetz might be sincere. I mean, I often compliment Matt Gaetz. But you got to beware of some of the others who are taking this knee-jerk thing. Because for some of the others, it's contrarianism. It's just like, we don't like this guy in the White House, so we're going to be opposed to it. Listen to these Republicans when it comes to China, Taiwan. They sound like the most hawkish Democrats on the proxy war in the Ukraine. And there's really not much talk about that. They sound like Bush-Cheney era neocons on the Ukraine. On Taiwan. And I don't want to start a nuclear war over Taiwan any more than I want to start a nuclear war over the Ukraine. And that's what it comes down to. And I am officially opposed to the proxy war in the Ukraine, and U.S. and NATO trying to do this proxy war to undermine Russia. And I am also opposed to the U.S. presence in the Pacific trying to go and antagonize China. We can have a debate about what we think of either government. I have criticisms of both China and Russia. I have criticisms of the United States. There's not a country in the world I don't have some kind of criticisms over. But at the same time, I look at the United States and I'm like, you're so obviously trying to show yourselves to the world in a very thuggish way. He just wants to be like the high school bully on this planet, this playground called planet Earth. And it's just got to stop. I just wish that the military industrial complex and the neocons and the deep state can be humbled for a change. We'll let Tulsi continue.
Go ahead and pull this up.
Speaking about the Democrats and the DNC.
Oh, gosh. Oh, hold on. Hold on here. Sorry about that, folks. Give me a moment here. Sorry about that. Fixed. Okay. We'll continue.
To them, there is no primary. There is no opposition. They're going to try to pretend Bobby Kennedy's not polling at 20% because they don't want to have to put Joe Biden on the record to compare and contrast. Hey, you have a record. The American people, Democrat voters, actually do have a choice in this election. And, they're going to try to ignore him for as long as they can because they're deathly afraid of him. And they're going to do to him what they did to me in the Democratic primary of 2020, which is pretend you don't exist. And then if people start noticing you, then they will try to smear and cancel and destroy him at all costs.
I remember what Hillary did to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she's still standing.
It's the smears that get repeated over and over and over again by the propaganda media until people actually start to believe it, and it starts causing some real damage.
But on the bright side, Hillary didn't kill you. We really do need to talk about all those people that were supposed to testify against the Clintons throughout the years. And look, not not to make anybody panic or anything, but a lot of those people never made it to their court dates alive. I'm just saying. And there's a certain guy, first name Jeffrey, last name was an E. He somehow mysteriously passed away in a secure prison cell. The power went out. The two guards surprisingly just fell asleep because they were tired. They had to take a nap, a nappy nap. They were tired. What do you want them to do? Keep an eye on the prisoners and do their jobs? Hard work. I don't think so.
Day life is a blessing, and I don't know. It's a Tulsi Gabbard.
Okay, I think that's enough of that there. Give me a second here. Well, I would just say this much. Hillary Clinton, well, I'm not saying what some people said in the 1990s, but I would just say that, deal with Hillary Clinton. Well, suicides happen, I guess. So, I know I'm not going to go too much into that. So, I'm not going to. But anyways, Tulsi is on point as usual in that regard. People just sits there, and there will be, there'll be people that'll just sit there and smear her. Now, there are things about Tulsi that I disagree with. This is, when it comes to some of the culture war issues, I don't agree with her on some of her positions on transgender people. I mean, where she's like partnering up with to the level of Matt Walsh or what have you. I mean, I understand she comes from a socially conservative Hindu background and all that, but again, Tulsi Gabbard is correct on a lot of foreign policy issues, whereas a lot of people are not. And if we have a nuclear war, nobody's going to be discussing these social issues. And she's been correct on that, and she's been maligned, and I actually think she's been pushed in a negative direction because of Hillary Clinton. And she went where the love was at. Thomas from Tommy Nation Politics was on my show Wednesday, and we had a discussion about that briefly, and we both came to that conclusion. She went where the love was at. So. But anyway, I can't find the video clip, and I had the video clip on me recently, but she did mention something about what needs to be done with regard to the primaries, and I'm going to touch on that. And what needs to be done is that basically you don't need the primary process. You do not need to go into an official Democratic primaries. What you need to do, you need to go and basically use independent media. You can go on Joe Rogan. You could go on Lex Friedman. You can go on these programs. You can go on these forums. I mean, if you really want to piss off the other side, and if the right-wing media wants to use you, you can even go on Tucker Carlson or someplace like that, or Fox Town Hall. Bernie did. So you can go to where you're well, in the words of Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols, when they were touring in America in 1977, he says they asked him, why didn't you tour in places like New York, and which they did. They went and toured in New York and Los Angeles and places like that, but they also toured in small towns in Texas and Nebraska and places you just would not think they would be performing at. And he says something to the effect of, go where you're not wanted. There's more to accomplish. in his Johnny Rotten style sarcasm and wit. But so that's kind of what I'm going to say, that's what needs to be done with Robert Kennedy and Marianne Williamson. They don't need Joe Biden. They don't need the Democratic National Committee. They don't need them. Take your case to the American people, because there will be a primary. You will be able to vote for them in the primaries. You're just not going to see the debates officially sanctioned by the Democratic Party. So if you believe in working inside the Democratic Party, and that's your end game, just go and encourage Robert Kennedy Jr. and Marianne Williamson to go to these programs. Go on Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman. Go on these podcasts around the country. There's another one. I cannot think of the name of the other program. It's down in Florida. It's an Iranian guy that's host of the show. He's kind of like an open-minded conservative, independent thinking conservative. Go on his show, and I can't think of his name at the moment. Go on some of these podcasts around the country. Go on some of the online left. Go on their shows. I mean, I'm sure that some of these podcasts will have them. Whether we're talking about bad faith, Brianna Joy Gray's bad faith, or even go into if you want to go talk. Well, I'm going to go and say, even if you go to the Young Turks, I'm not that I really am crazy about talking to encouraging people to do that, but what I'm basically saying is there's more than just an officially sanctioned debate that's sponsored by MSNBC and CNN or Fox. And although I will say there is value, you can use Fox to your advantage. They want to dig at the Democrats. Well, use them. Use them to dig at the Democrats. In 1996, the Socialist Party ran a woman named Mary Cal Hollis for president, and I mentioned my friend before, Dwight Welsh. He actually worked it out so he could get her on a radio show on some evangelical radio station. I think it's somewhere in Minnesota or something like that. And because he's like a Christian pastor, United Church of Christ, Christian pastor, liberal denomination. He basically was able to do that and have her on the show and introduce socialism to a skeptical evangelical audience. And that was, believe it or not, kind of a fairly favorable response. They were exposed to ideas that they were not used to. And so they heard it from this gentle teacher from Boulder, Colorado, with an Arkansas accent, because that's where she's from initially. And she was able to talk about, what socialism can mean for you and me and everything. And I speak about socialism because I identify as a socialist. And when I talk about socialism, I mean basically a good society, and you can work toward this good society. I'm not like all about theories or what have you, but I'm all about what's practical and what works, doing what works. And she made socialism made sense. And not that Robert Kennedy is a socialist. He's far from one. Not that Marianne Williamson is a socialist. She's far from one. At best, they're liberal progressives. However, they could still take their case to the American people on ideas that maybe where some of us who are further left than they are, some of the bigger concerns, in Marianne Williamson's case, at least she supports Medicare for all, can make a case for Medicare for all. Or in Robert Kennedy's case, for all of us who are virtually anti-war, the anti-war movement. And in both cases, the concern about Julian Assange to make sure that he is pardoned and a freed man. Something that again, I think socialists across the board tend to agree with. So basically, you take your case to the American people. I mean, I do my part here, my tiny little part, promoting these ideas on this platform for those who are willing to hear it, mostly to the choir, but anybody who's open-minded that accidentally stumble across it, I'm hoping that my dry words would plant a seed and provide a perspective, and that's what it's all about. And so what's going on is that by doing that, I think you're going to reach out to more people this way. You're going to reach out to more people this way than reaching out through through an official boring debate of people just being out of touch. And I mean, who goes watch debates other than the most hardcore political junkies? I think maybe many of us in the audience would. I mean, even prior to Bernie, I would watch a Democratic debate or Republican debate just because I was a political junkie. And primaries were like football. Even though, I'm even something as awful as a 2012 primary with candidates like Newt Gingrich and what's her name, Michelle Bachmann, who was basically Marjorie Taylor Greene before there was Marjorie Taylor Greene. These candidates, you'll be interested in watching these programs just to see how it turns out, and you'll be interested in watching their debates and see the exchanges of ideas and what have you. Even with the Democrats, I mean, when Dennis Kucinich ran in 2008, I mean, it was so nice hearing some of these phrases and that Bernie made more mainstream later on, because there was at that time when Dennis Kucinich was saying it, whenever they gave Dennis Kucinich the chance to say it, they were doing everything they could to ignore him. And in 2016 and 2020, they couldn't ignore Bernie any longer, someone like a Bernie Sanders any longer. And that's another reason I think that they want to kind of close off the debates, because they don't want that Bernie menace anymore. I mean, they're that nervous. I hear from some people that on the right, Bernie's a sellout. Bernie is a weak man at this point. I don't know about sellout, but he's a weak man at this point. I will give him that. But he's actually made some people very nervous in the Democratic Party, even now, and they perceive they have these notions that Marianne Williamson and Robert Kennedy is a problem. I kind of think that they are not a problem really to these Democrats, because honestly, they're not going to do a dirty break. And if they're not willing to do a dirty break, they're not going to be a problem. And that's what it comes down to, because with regard to the whole thing with regard to the situation with the Democrats, they want to go back to the way it was when it was Bill and Hillary Clinton running the show. And I've always argued that they're still in control to this day. Unfortunately, because we're locked in a two-party system. And again, I do encourage people to drop out of the two-party system. If you're a Democrat, drop out. If you're a Republican, drop out. And find a party of your own. I do think that you should find a political party of your own. I'm pretty damn independent these days. But find something that's of your own, and go with it, and be true to yourself. And you don't have to sit there and settle for the lesser evil or belong to an ideological big tent that's too big, where there are people in that big tent that could fit well on the dominant other side of the other big tent. And that's the big problem right there, in this country. You need to go and you need to draw the line in the sand. And I predict that I'm going to lose a lot of friends, more friends I have lost since 2016 and 2024. And I'm prepared for that. And because I can't be involved. But what I'm also saying is, for those who are involved in there, you need to, at the end of the day, for the sake of preserving democracy in these institutions, you need to go and force the debate. That's what you need to do. Force the damn debates. And if you can't, then there's really not much point. So anyway, right now, what I'm going to do is I want to make an announcement. I was aware of this, but Warren's on the chat line here, and he told me, hey, Willie, just wanted to let you know that the Secret Show will be back next week instead. Something came up, and I had to be up early tomorrow. And I got work to do. No problem, Warren. And yeah, because I'm glad you told me. I'm glad you reminded me, because I always like to let everybody know about the Secret Show and everything. So the Secret Show will be back next week. Warren had to kind of take a hiatus for a little while due to work. So there will be a Secret Show coming back next week. So something I always look forward to. And everything. So let's go ahead and check here on the chat lines and everything. And I have some additional announcements here. So Yankee Tanky, how are you doing, my friend? How are you doing today? All right. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. I support whoever will bring I support whoever will bring the most people to the streets to reach out the message to them. Yep. So what it's it's all about mobilizing. Let's see here. Okay. All right. That was my question here. Let's see here. I don't dislike his policies, referring to Cornel West or the People's Party platform. I just don't think Dr. Cornel West can reach the anti-war right well, which is the largest part of the anti-hegemonic forces. Well, that is true. However, the more anti-war voices there are, the better. If you want to call the Libertarian Party a right-leaning party in the terms of their economics, you can make an argument that they're right-leaning. You can make an argument that they're beyond left-right paradigm. But when I say right, I'm not saying it in a negative way or pejorative way. With libertarians, they do have an anti-war platform. So if you're a conservative or a Republican type, and you don't like the Republican Party, and you are anti-war, like a Thomas Massey type or a Ron Paul type, in the Republican Party, you do have a choice with the Libertarians. The Constitution Party, they're a whack job, and they're horrible on all the issues, but they tend to be good on foreign policy, but that's it. But they're terrible on everything else. Let's see. All right. Let's see here. Same sanction of the ruling class is backing both. And that's true. As it's the anti-third world war. It's the anti-third world war faction of the military and entrepreneurial Silicon Valley sections of the ruling class. Yep. So let's see what we got here. Oh yeah. We talked about that earlier about the secret show. Let's see. Tulsi's on point as usual. Yep. Yeah, she is. Let's see. We all know the Clintons had. Let's see. We all know that the Clintons have done to so many people at this point. Look into the Clinton Foundation and what they have been involved with. Amen, brother. Amen. The Clinton Foundation is deeply corrupt. The Democratic Leadership Council that used to be that used to exist as an organization that in effect Reaganized the Democratic Party. Well, they pretty much basically a lot of their archives, a lot of their material ended up being part of the Clinton Foundation. So in effect, the Clinton Foundation, the Democratic Leadership Council, is part of the Clinton Foundation now at this point. And as I said, anybody who knows anything about me will know where I stand in regard to the Clinton Foundation. I absolutely loathe the Clinton Foundation, because I loathe everything about the Clintons at this point, and they just done so much damage in every aspect of what they've done to the Democratic Party. And we can't have nice things because of the Clintons. So that's basically what it comes down to. So here I agree with you with what you're saying. I'm just more talking about Dr. Cornel West to actually win. It needs to be the left-right coalition to get an actual win. There are stubborn people on both sides when it comes to that question. I say work where you can work together, because there are going to be issues where they're just unreconcilable. I mean, when this is what marches are all about, and I make no apologies about attending Rage Against the War Machine. In fact, I wish there were more marches like Rage Against the War Machine, to the chagrin of people like Rachel Maddow. And Rachel Maddow could sit there and just be judgmental all she wants about it, and I didn't care. I was happy to be there, and honestly, it did have an impact that it made some people nervous. So, and I didn't feel like I was entering enemy territory in any way. It wasn't a Tea Party rally. It was not an alt-right shindig. It was not Charlottesville Unite the Right. It was not a Tea Party thing. It was not anything. It wasn't even a benign pro-life rally or anything of that. It was not any of those things. It was a coalition of people out there who opposed the war, and it was basically a very healthy mix of people out there, and I didn't feel one bit isolated. Win or get the People's Party as a legitimate third option for the next election cycle, maybe. My prediction is that the People's Party is questionable in the sense that I always said that the People's Party, problem with the People's Party is that they were created in a hurry. Bernie didn't get the nomination in 2016. And the people who were part of that Bernie campaign, some of them just kind of just patched up this political party called the Peaceful Party and said, hey, Bernie, let's do a third party campaign. And so third parties are hard to organize. It really is. And I would know because I'm a veteran of third party. I'm a veteran third party activist. I have belonged to several third party organizations, and it is frankly a very hard thing to do is to go and try to form third parties. And because I created a third party presence here in North Carolina back in the 1990s, from roughly 1996 until about 2000, I guess maybe 2007, 2008. The Socialist Party of North Carolina was a thing in North Carolina. And so we weren't on the ballot, but we were able to get David McReynolds on the ballot as a certified write-in in 2000, and Walter Brown in 2004, and Brian gosh, what's his last name? I cannot think of the name of the 2008 presidential candidate right now. Anyway, but they were, all three of those candidates were able to get on the ballot as a certified write-in. And then, you know, I mean, it was kind of interesting we were more like a political organization than a political party, because you're not on the ballot. So, you know, you can organize. And there was really nothing wrong with that. I kind of missed those years in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, I was involved with a lot of sectarian fighting nonsense that I really should have been more focused on local organizing, and that would have been healthier. But I let myself get hung up on some ideological issues that frankly wasn't really all that important. So in the grand scheme of things. But anyway, the thing about the People's Party is that they were created in a hurry. And they have a typical dysfunctionality of a third party. And as I said, I saw that in my days in the Socialist Party USA, the New Party. Before I joined the Socialist Party USA, I was in the New Party. There was a short-lived Labor Party advocate organization in the 1990s that everybody was joining. It was the flavor of the month for the left. And they kind of disbanded, although they still exist in South Carolina as on a ballot line. So if I live in South Carolina, if I were to move to South Carolina, I would actually register with the South Carolina Labor Party, because I like the name of the party, and it does have a good platform. So there is also that. You got, who's not to say that these parties can't work together to form a larger political third party of the left. I would say that Cornel West and the People's Party needs to work work with the Green Party and try to do something kind of like Robert La Follette's Progressive Party of 1924. In 1912, there was the Bull Moose Party of Theodore Roosevelt. In 1924, the 1912, the Progressive Party. Bull Moose was the nickname. 1924, the Progressive Party of Robert La Follette. And in 1948, the Progressive Party of Henry Wallace. They were three separate parties that happened to have the same name, that occupied the same position on the political spectrum here in the United States, occupying the left. And all three of them died for whatever reasons. Factionalism, just after the 1912 election, factionalism in 1924. In 1948, by the 1950s, the Progressive Party died because of the Cold War, because it was just the McCarthyist the McCarthyism and everything. And there was a Communist Party element in the Progressive Party. Not saying that like, woo, there was communists in there. Not saying that, but that was the reason. And that's why there was a Liberal Party in New York State, because the state affiliate of the Progressive Party in New York was the American Labor Party of New York State. And the American Labor Party collapsed. And then there was the Liberal Party, which no longer exists, thankfully. And then there was a short-lived Independent Socialist Party that came out of the fracture of the American Labor Party. And for those that were leftists that did not want to go and work inside the Liberal Party, that sort of thing. It's kind of interesting how these things kind of break out. But I would say that maybe the Green Party, maybe the California Peace and Freedom Party, and some maybe satellite statewide left-wing parties across the country that has some ballot access needs to work together, including the People's Party, to try to do something, patch something together to make sure that Cornel West is on the ballot in all 48, all 50 states as much as possible. Now, regarding the Green Party, my understanding, I'm not sure what's going on right now within the Green Party, but I understand that Howie Hawkins may possibly want to run again. Now, we never met, but he knows who I am. I know who he is because we're both in the Socialist Party at the time. And he is still in the Socialist Party, but he's also in the Green Party. My understanding, he wants to run again, and that's fine and dandy. But I do think that maybe the Green Party be better suited if they can recruit Cornel West. I am certainly very receptive to that idea. Let's see here. Lloyd Trackwell. Hey, if RFK is able to get on the ballot, he's got a good shot. Yeah, I just don't. If you mean as an independent candidate for president, I don't think that's going to happen because, I mean, he is a Democrat through and through. You got some people that they're just so attached to the Democratic Party. I mean, I understand that to some point. For many years, I was attached to SI parties, even though I was a lonely American here, social democrat. I was attached to SI parties around the world, which is silly because not all SI parties are alike. So I was like, whatever SI party was around the world, I will be cheering the Labour Party in Norway, or I'll be cheering the Pan-Hellenic socialist movement in Greece, not knowing fully what's going on inside those countries, just being on a global level, a partisan hack. And that was kind of the immature on my part. There are some SI parties that are better than others, and all. So you just have to kind of do your homework and all that and everything. Obviously, the British Labour Party it's a shit show right now, and what they did to Jeremy Corbyn. And if I lived in the UK, if my Labour MP was a real socialist, like a Jeremy Corbyn, I would vote for that MP. But if in that constituency, if they're more like a Keir Starmer, I would vote Green Party, or vote for the Socialist Workers' Party, or vote for the Socialist Party of England or Wales, or if I was in Scotland, the Scottish Socialist Party, or Sinn Féin, or something like that. Who has ballot who are on the ballot in the UK, for example. So I mean that's kind of how I'm kind of using that as an example. So, but here in America, you have people who are so attached to the Democratic Party label. It's just who they are. That's just how they operate. Let's see. I'm not a fan of the Greens. Howie Hawkins recently said that he supports Ukraine. That is correct. I found that out, and that is why I have a pause, and I'm very surprised about that. In fact, when I interviewed Nikki about a close to a month ago at this point, about 3 weeks ago, about a month ago, something like that. After the chat, we talked about that, and she's the ones that told me about Howie Hawkins. I found that out about Howie Hawkins from her, and I told her, you know, when I was in the SPUSA, there was one thing they did impose cancel culture on, and probably the one area where I am okay with cancel culture is anything that looks like warmongering. You know, you support anything that looks like an invasion, whether it's a humanitarian interventionism or what have you. Yes. You know, I mean, they would go at, I mean, they wouldn't censure you, but they certainly will make you feel like shit over it. And honestly, yeah, I'm anti-war. And so, you know, and I was always anti-war, but I was not always the best anti-imperialist, if that means anything. And I have developed a more anti-imperialist stance over the years, because you know, you have to know where the nature of the problem is, and when you see where the source of the aggression is, and you see that we're not being a force for good in the world. I mean, 99.99999% of the time after World War II. I mean, World War II was probably the last time the United States were on the side of good. I just, you know, and if the United States is doing something good foreign policy wise today, it's by accident. So that's what it comes down to. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, is Howie Hawkins better than Joe Biden? Yes, but I am disappointed with Howie Hawkins in that regard. Let's see here. The Yankee Tanky. I'm not a fan of Howie Hawkins. I probably won't support the Green Party again for a long time. Yeah, yeah, well, and I can understand that in terms of the foreign policy question. So, and he does suffer from Russian derangement syndrome. And that's also something that bothers me about progressives, some progressives today. It's like, woo, Russia. You know, just kind of like when I hear people do this, I'm like, shut up with this Russia thing. You know, it really borders on racism with this Russia phobia. You know, the very same people and the very same people that after 9/11 happened, that talk about anti-Muslim bigotry, which was true. There was a lot of anti-Muslim bigotry that was out there, and it needs to be denounced and everything. Because honestly, you know, this whole mindset. I mean, you know, not all Muslims think alike, and you know, and not all Muslims think alike, and it just depends on how religious one is, and it depends, you know, and Amazing Atheist said this before, that just like Christianity, in a good way, you have hypocrites. And I'm saying this in a good way about Muslims, the hypocrites within Islam, those who don't adhere to every aspect of the theology, that they're not going to sit there and take every aspect of their theology seriously in the same way that Christians are not going to take every aspect of their theology seriously. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because there's some bad things that one can read in both the Bible and the Quran. And so, you know, so there are good things that you can find in both holy books, but there's some questionable things too, and because of that, you know, thank goodness for the hypocrites in both faiths. So let's see here, and so the same thing about Russophobia. I mean, this whole notion of, well, demonizing Russia, you know, I mean, it's just kind of like, you know, you're worried about some person named Sergio and Vladimir and Boris and Nikita and all. I mean, I'm like, come on, really? It's going to take literature out of college courses because of Russia. You're going to go boycott vodka because of Russia. I'm not boycotting vodka. I love mixing vodka and Pepsi together. It's too damn good. So let's see here. Jill Stein is way better. Agreed. Let's see. After your program tonight has been reading my comments, I could have been on your show. We're going to have you on the show. We did talk about that. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. So probably sometime in July or August, Yankee Tanky, you're going to come on back because we got to talk about this whole cancel culture thing that we were talking about a while ago that's been going on, which is ridiculous as hell. So, what's going on with people's bank accounts and all of this and in regard to what's going on abroad and all of that and everything and here and all. So anyway, I have to get off here and take care of some things right now, folks. There's no secret show tonight, but the secret show will be back next week. I want to say that. And I also want to say let's see here. I also want to say that next week I will be back here at 9:00 again. I wasn't here last week because I was like really drained from work. I was really tired, fatigued, and I just didn't have it in me to do a program. So, but today, I did. I'm well rested and all that. I do apologize for the audio that did affect the quality of the program, and I do apologize for that. But I'm going to try to do something about that audio because it would have been a better program. It would have flowed smoother. I haven't even had another video that kind of pertained what needed to be said. So I had to improvise. So anyway, if you all like what you heard, please press like and comment anyway. Feel free to share the contents on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Subscribe and hit the notification bell here on my YouTube channel. And follow and subscribe to follow KRTD Media on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, as well, and all the other platforms they're on, and continue to reject corporate media because they have absolutely nothing to offer. And until next time, I am Willy Bragg. We'll be back next week. I have new outro music, but I don't know if we're having any music. If there's no music, I can make music happen. So I want to know if there is any sound because I'm introducing everybody to Ken Aroa, who's a talented musician, and I want to expose his music to the world. So anyway, please on the comment section and on the side, let me know if there is a sound. If not, I will come back here and I will actually fix it so that there will be a sound. Good night.
Shut up by the time
Okay. Hope there was a sound there. If not, I'll make sure you hear it next week. Take care, folks. Y'all have a great evening. Bye-bye.